Hello and welcome to another Revit Building 8.1 A to Z lesson here in part 5 from DG CAD, and we're continuing to talk about families. In this case, again, wall hosted families, but we're talking about really putting any sort of signage or medallion, or it could be a panel, it could be precast objects, some sort of object that you want to be able to host, get hosted by the wall and be able to move it around. And no big lesson on parameters on this particular one, more lesson on a bit on solids and extrusion and surface planes and sketching and managing of this type of object. So just a couple points over here. In this particular family, there's really three main objects. There's the outer extrusion, which is what you see here, okay? And if you put an inside ring on any mass element extrusion, it forms a donut hole. So this would form the outer ring of our family here. Then we have the inner plate, which sits in the back, and it's really nothing but the disc that sits in the back, more or less to hide what's behind the wall or what's behind the object, because by default when you do an extrusion you're going to see right through there and you're going to be able to see the line work of the wall and the pattern beyond. So we have an inner plate to hide the wall behind. And then we have the little sailboat designer. It could be any sort of text, or it could be further mass elements and extrusions, but for the most part you can sketch or do whatever you want on that surface we've made, and then you can put whatever you want on there. Now when we go and place that in here, we want to put it on the placement side, there's a top view of it you can see in there, and you can see there's the outer shape of the top view, and then you can see that inner line right down the middle here, and that is the line which is your inner plate. And then we don't really see any text, and we can put some reference planes. The other thing is when you go and start doing wall hosted stuff like this, the cut plane and view range comes into play when you're viewing, because sometimes you'll draw it on the elevation on the placement side, and when you look in the top you won't see it. It's because the object is sitting up too high, so you can move that around. This object can slide around on the wall anywhere. It has really no constraints as far as vertical placement. Now we have two different types of line work we can put on here. There's symbolic lines versus model lines. These are all model lines. Model lines are a physical part of the model, and they are viewable no matter what direction. So it's real physical lines that sit on the surface that you could put on there. Okay, so those are model type lines. If you put symbolic lines, it's more like a door swing or a line that is only visible when you are looking perpendicular to the lines themselves. So symbolic lines are like door swings, and they're not really physically part of the model. If you want to put any sort of decoration or any line work on the model to show up in any view, then you're going to use model lines. We are going to go into sketch mode, and we have to be on the proper surface and reference plane when we do that, and we have a negative extrusion in this case because the extrusion is coming towards us instead of away from us. And then if you want to, for instance, make one that's a different size, you would go in and into sketch mode and take the individual extrusions and over here, and then you would resize them. So there's going to be no automatic resize of this. If you want to resize it, you'll have to go in and do a save as, and then go in and do that. Okay, so let's have a look over in our Revit here, and this is an example of one of those that's in place, and I can click on that and I can just move that around wherever I want. Doesn't matter which view I look from. I can look from the east view, and I can go in and pick this, and I can change my number to form the location of that. Doesn't matter. I can again click anywhere I want, place it up. Again, if I delete the wall, the object will delete because it's being hosted by it. So if I go over here to my 3D view, for instance, and I look at my building, I could go back and hit component again, and there's that object medallion 1, and notice that it's going to figure out whichever wall surface I put it on. It's not a roof object, okay, but it is a wall object. I can go around here and I can pick different surfaces, and of course I need to take that and attach that up to that in our roof lesson, and then I can take that and move that to wherever we want. Okay, so that's pretty basic stuff, but with that you can do a lot of different things. Again, signage or any sort of precast panel or something you want to move around. Window battens, same type of thing, right, around the window. So let's go make this family from scratch. I'm just going to go File, New, Family. Okay, and again, as you have guessed, it's a wall hosted, not roof. Skylights would be roof hosted, okay. Floor hosted, wall hosted. Start off with my basic placement side here, and the first thing I usually do is I grab this guy and I pull him over, and I use my tab button to tab through here, and I grab that existing reference plane which is there. Once again, tab and drag that off. I always find it's a little easier when these things sit off of the wall, because a lot of times you don't even know it exists. We can click on there and we can see, you know, that is the center line, okay, and this is the wall edge, no big deal. So now what I want to do is I want to sketch out that outer ring on this surface right here. A couple ways of doing this. I can go Tools, Work Plane, Set Work Plane, and I'm going to say okay. I'm going to pick a plane that I want to use, okay, and I'm going to say I want to use this plane, and it's going to say which way do you want to look at it from the placement side, please, thank you, and then it goes to my nice view in here. Now if I start to draw up here and I go back to my plan reference level here, I might not see it because of my cut plane in my view range. So I'm going to go in here to start with, and I'm just going to start by drawing another reference plane inside of here. That will be more or less the center of my object. I don't even have to name this or be too accurate with it. Okay, now I'm just going to go in and I'm going to do a solid form extrusion. And inside of there, I'm going to go in, I'm going to start by drawing some lines. I'm going to draw a circle. I'm going to click on here and I'm going to make that be 1 foot in diameter. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset that by 2 inches to the inside. Okay. Now I'm going to go in and just do some extra line work on here. I'm going to go in and draw some lines, very basic, here to here, maybe diagonally down to there. Okay, I want to get a copy of that over there, so I'm going to grab these guys. I'm going to go into here and I'm going to pick Array. Oh, it's not giving me my array. And I noticed that you can't use the array in sketch mode, but you can use it when you do normal out in your normal drafting mode. So I can do the same, accomplish the same thing by going in here and clicking on here. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to hit rotate. Okay, and I'm going to put my copy on, and I'm going to read my command line, and it says down there, it says or drag rotation center control. So this is all about really just trying to do a rotation, and I'm going to say from here to there, more or less like an array. I want to get it exact, so I'm going to click on there and go in here and hit mirror and mirror that about there. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a split. I'm just going to simply go in and say split, delete inner segment, no, but I'm going to split it there and split it there. I'm going to hit escape, click on the outer ring and delete that. Okay, now I can go in fact, and I can take this and I can mirror that about this point. Okay, and then I can go in and mirror this, and I could do this in several ways, of course. Okay, and then mirror that about this point. I've got more or less my shape. All about, you know, you can create your geometry any way you want. Now that I have that, I'm going to go and check my extrusion properties. Start at 0 on my placement side reference plane. Extrusion, I'm going to say, is minus 6 inches, which will make it come out towards me, and I'm going to say finish my sketch. Oh, I've got some cleanup problems, so let's zoom in here, see what our problem is. We need to do a little wee fillet in here, so I'm going to go back and do a trim. I'm going to use this type of trim, and I'm just going to make sure all my corners are cleaned up properly. Finish my sketch, and there it is. So that's a normal mistake everyone will make, and I can go look at my 3D view here, shift click, swivel around. There it is. Okay, I can go to my top view now, and there I can see the object inside of there. I'm going to go back to my 3D view. If, again, perchance this was sitting up in here, and I went back to here, I'm not going to see it. The object is too high, so you can go into your view properties and change your range, or you can just do it the easy way, as I'm doing, and take it and actually move it down, because I really don't care where it sits on the wall. Now I go back to here, Okay, I can take this, I could add a dimension constraint inside of here. I'm not going to worry about it, but I'm going to go in here and say -5 inches, for instance. Okay, and I could create a new reference plane, and I could put a dimension and label it and put a parameter, and then I could have a parameter for this object where I can actually vary the thickness of this signage as I go in. Okay, the same way you put any label and any dimension and align and lock this. Okay, I'm not going to worry too much about that. What I am going to do is I'm going to create another plate that sits back inside of here, and I know I'm still on this reference plane, but just to make sure, I'm going to say set reference plane, pick the plane, hit OK, click on here and view from the placement side, open the window. Okay, now all I'm going to do is I'm going to create the inner plate, so I'm going to say OK. I'm going to do another solid form extrusion. Okay, and I'm going to use my pick point option, and I'm just going to pick here and pick here, set it to be -3 inches. Hit OK, finish the sketch. Now I go back and look at my 3D view. Now I've got that inner plate that's sitting right on here, and then I can draw on that. Okay, so now I can go down and say OK. Watch this, surface, work plane, set work plane, pick the plane, hit OK. Now watch, I can click right on that edge. And now if I go look from my placement side, okay, I'm going to just have a look inside of here. Now I can go draw my little boat or whatever I want on there. And again, I don't want to use symbol lines. Those are for door swings and only when you're looking perpendicular. I want to be able to see this in 3D. So I'm going to go and draw model lines. Very basic. Go inside of here. Draw another line. Okay, this is all just sketching in your lines. Go back, draw some more lines. Maybe draw an arc from here to here. My sailboat on there. Draw another line from here to here up to there. Okay, now I can click on this and I can say resize, and I can say numerical scale 2 and click, and then it'll be 2. Oh, too big. I'm going to undo that back, resize that as I please. Okay, then I take this and I say okay, well, let's save this. File, save as, and I'm going to call this Signage 1 in my Revit families folder. I'm going to go back, have a look at my 3D view, and my text is not showing up. Okay, and I've seen this. That's why I kind of checked on that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go click on here, and I'm going to go into 3D wireframe for a second. And I'm going to grab, now you see that? Oh, I see. That's on the wrong surface. I can tell by looking at it. I'm going to grab all those objects. I'm going to grab these objects using my control button. And I'm going to say edit work plane. And I'm going to say pick work plane and hit OK, and I'm going to make sure it's on the right plane. There. And now it's moved up. Right? View, hidden line. Now I can see it. Okay, so sometimes when you do this, I made that rookie mistake of actually not getting it. You can actually take this at a later time using my control button. You can grab this stuff and you can say edit work plane, and you can put it on a different plane. Okay, then we can save this. Okay, now maybe we can push it out to a project. So I'm going to say load to project, load it into project 2, sure. Okay, go back to my 3D view in this project. Now I can go in here and I can say component. And there's my Signage 1. Click on there. There it is. Okay, now it's not sitting right on the surface. And it looks like that was just more of a graphical problem with getting that object in. So now we can go over to our families, and we will see that in there we have our Signage 1 and we have a Signage 2 that we've been practicing with as well. I can go at any point and delete that. Now when I go in and I can grab this object if I want, and I can click on it. Of course it'll be hosted by a wall, and I can place these wherever I want. Okay, they'll show up in plan view properly as well. We go up to our top here, check our level 1. Okay, now In this case, again, our view range, it's not catching it. So, that's all just a matter of your cut plane and where that sits. You see, it's just clipping through that. If I grab these, of course, and bring these down, then I can go back to my top view and I'll start to see more of that. We can move those around as we please. I can go back in, edit the family. Yes, I do. And what I did when I had that graphic problem, I just went back inside of here and I clicked on this object and I went into the edit and I just kind of checked my extrusion options and made sure that my start was at 0 here, and in which case it was, and all I really did was save it and then load that back into the project, and my graphics problem seemed to have disappeared. So that's just a quick way of getting some signage and some wall hosted objects out using some extrusion. Again, we can go in here at any point and pick edit, and then we probably want to go look from our elevational views back into here. We can go in and further edit and change these objects. Okay. The other thing is that if I go back into, say, plan view inside of here, there's nothing stopping me from grabbing these objects in here and saying change the click on it and change my work plane by going set work plane. Okay, set work plane, pick the plane, or if they've already got your named ones, wall edge, I could pick on there as well, or I could say pick plane on here. So a lot of it is a matter of getting that right surface plane when you do the extrusion and knowing where your negative and your positive extrusions are going in which direction. And then you always want to go in and test this. Again, this one has no big parameters on it. One parameter we could add would be the two thicknesses, and then we use our model lines to draw right on the surface of this disc over here. And then when we take this and we load it into our project, of course it all comes in as one object. We'll redefine that, go back to my 3D view, and there's my object all in one. Okay, I cannot go in now and resize this. Okay, if I want to make this a different size, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to pick edit the family, and I'm going to go inside of here and maybe pick on this and actually go into the sketch, look at it from the placement side, and then I can perhaps grab these objects and go into here and say resize, numerically by 2, maybe 1.5 times, and then click the center and it'll go 1.5 times the size of that, and then I can finish my sketch, and then I can now go click on here. Again, I can go into edit, and then I can click on these two objects and go to my resize, numerically 1.5 based on here. That's out to there. Finish the sketch. Okay, now these are the ones inside of here. Yes, I can resize it, numerical 1.5 based on the center of that, probably there. Okay, then I could take this and I could save it, or do a save as probably instead to make a different one. Okay, and then in this case I've done a save, so it's going to update all the existing ones, so they're all going to get a little bit bigger based on that size. Okay. And that concludes our lesson 33 on our Revit Building 8.1 A to Z, and just some notes in here again. If when you're in sketching and you're producing it and you're not getting the results you want, sometimes if you've gone in and done some weird editing, it doesn't hurt to go back actually and delete and recreate these lines. When you're first learning, you'll notice that when things don't come out exactly right, sometimes you have to go back and maybe resketch those lines in. There's no harm in doing that in the beginning, and then of course you'll get better and better as you go.